In this lesson, you're going to learn English with the news. We're going to read a business news article together so you can add 58 advanced words and phrases to your vocabulary using correct grammar and correct pronunciation. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. Let's review the headline: Why Personal Health and Wellness Are Key to Business Longevity. Do you know what key means in this context? Key means important, critical, or crucial. Now, this functions as an adjective. Notice you have the verb to be, which is plural because there are two things: health, wellness. But key doesn't have an S because it functions as an adjective. It would be the same if you replaced it with are, important, critical, or crucial. So still you conjugate your verb to be, singular or plural, but your adjective does not take an S. Now let's talk about longevity. Notice that pronunciation, it has a j sound. Longevity. This means lasting for a long time. So it means for the business to last for a long time, so to exist. Now, if the word business were not there, this could also be correct, and it would mean your ability to last, to live for a long time. Because of course, health and wellness are key to longevity for us to live for a long time. So you can attach this to something specific like a business or a company or even a product, but without something specific, one would assume that it's a person's longevity. Don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now let's continue on. Here, notice it says key takeaways. We know what key means, right? It's important, critical, or crucial. Key. But what about this word? Takeaways. Do you know what that means? Takeaways means points, lessons, or just information. This is very commonly used in a business context. You might start a presentation or a call or a meeting by saying, here are the key takeaways from the conference, and then you would list the most important points or what you learned. Instead of key, it's very common to use main, specifically with takeaways. Here are the main takeaways from the conference. Now, if there were only one piece of information or one lesson, then you would use takeaway in the singular. So it's singular or plural. You could say, my main takeaway from the conference is, and then you would say what you learned or what you remember. So maybe your main takeaway, what you remember or what you learned that was the most important, is the importance of health for business longevity. So this article was very long. We'll review the key takeaways, the most important points. And notice here you have the actual points because they're just listing them as points. So in a meeting, you could verbalize this as first or the first thing or point one, takeaway one. Business leaders who prioritize their personal health and wellness are better equipped to handle their responsibilities and inspire their management teams and employees. Let's review prioritize. This is a verb, to prioritize. Now, you may be comfortable with seeing priority as a noun. And if you use priority as a noun, you need make as your verb. You make something a priority. So in this case, it would be business leaders who make personal health and wellness a priority are better equipped. So you would slightly change the sentence structure because you need make something a priority. But in this case, you prioritize something. So the sentence structure is a little different. Let's practice this as a verb. As a verb, you conjugate it according to your time reference. So you could say right now. Right now, I'm prioritizing. It's in progress, so it's the present continuous. I'm prioritizing learning what? because remember, you prioritize something. I'm prioritizing learning phrasal verbs. I'm prioritizing improving my pronunciation or my grammar. So what about you? Try this. Put this example sentence in the comments to practice this expression and let us know what you're prioritizing so I can make a lesson on it in the future. Let's review equipped. Notice here the sentence structure is to be equipped. You can add a modifier like better, but the structure is to be, and then equipped functions as your adjective. Notice that pronunciation, that ed is a soft T, equipped, equipped. Now, when you say it in a sentence, especially here, because my next sound is a to, I won't even really pronounce this because my next sound is a T. So I would say personal health and wellness are better equipped to handle, equipped to handle. So I don't even pronounce it. So just be cautious of that to make sure you understand it and understand that ED. Now, synonyms, you could say prepared, able, ready, and then you use the infinitive to handle. Capable is a very common synonym, but notice with capable, the sentence structure is different because you need of and then your gerund. So you would use are better capable of handling their responsibilities. And instead of handle, you could use manage, deal with, or address as synonyms. Now, remember, if you're using capable, you need to use the gerund form. Are better equipped to handle their responsibilities and inspire their management teams and employees. Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. Let's review our next key point, our next takeaway. Overexertion, whether it's physical or mental, can lead to burnout. Okay, first let's talk about overexertion. First, let's look at the pronunciation, because notice you have X, but that's not how it's pronounced. It's pronounced as exertion, 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 exertion. And then you just add over in front of it. Overexertion, overexertion. So exertion is the use of mental or physical effort. When we add over in front of a word, a verb, it means too much. So in this case, it's too much mental or physical effort. Now, this over in front of a verb is very commonly used. You could just say, I slept until 8 a.m. That's just a statement. I don't know if this is good or bad. If you say, I overslept, then it means it was bad. You slept too much. So that's what it means. It means you had too much of the verb. In this case, the verb is sleep. So you can eat or you can overeat, which is negative. Overwork, overdo something. This is general when you don't want to necessarily specify the verb and you want to be general. You can just use overdo and then you overdo something. So you might say to me, Jennifer, I am so excited to learn English. I am going to study for 12 hours a day. And I might reply back and simply say, don't overdo it. So don't overstudy, don't overdo it. Or if your friend tells you they're going to go to the gym 5 days a week for 4 hours every day, you might say, whoa, don't overdo it. Don't overwork. Don't overdo it. So let's review this again. Overexertion, too much physical or mental effort in a negative way. Overexertion, whether it's physical or mental. So here, notice the definition is mental or physical. So they're including both of them in this term. Physical exertion or mental exertion can lead to burnout. Burnout is a state of extreme exhaustion where you can no longer function. Can lead to burnout that will negatively impact your leadership, effectiveness, and the organization's overall performance. Notice here they added negatively because impact is neutral. You can have a positive impact and a negative impact. If it sounds like it's obvious, generally native speakers won't specify the negative or positive, but if they want to be very clear, they'll specify it here. Using the opposite, positively, you might say adequate sleep. In this case, it's the subject of the sentence, adequate sleep. Adequate means enough. Adequate sleep can positively impact your studies. Let's move on to our next point, our next takeaway. Leaders who model good health and wellness practices contribute to a healthier work environment. So if the leader models something, it means they display it because they do the activities themselves. So if the leader is drinking a lot of water, other people might see that and say, oh, I should drink more water because, of course, hydration is part of your overall health and wellness. So that could be an example of how you would model health and wellness practices. Some synonyms for model are demonstrate, exhibit, notice that z, exhibit, exemplify, z, exemplify, and show. And remember here, this is your verb, contribute. It's being conjugated with the subject, which is leaders. So when you have additional information like this, sometimes it can confuse students, even native speakers. Here, this is also plural, but if this were singular, it does not matter because the subject is leaders. That is what your verb is being conjugated with. Leaders contribute. Leaders who model good health and wellness practices contribute to a healthier work environment, boosting, this is another word for increasing, boosting, increasing staff retention and company resilience. Do you know what staff retention means? Retention is the noun form. The verb form is retain. You may be familiar with this because you want to retain vocabulary. So you learn it, but then you have to retain it, any information, which means keep it so you can use it in the future. So staff retention, staff meaning employees. Notice staff is a collective noun. So staff retention is your ability to keep, retain staff, employees, people, so they don't quit. They don't go to other companies because they don't like working for your company. So coming back to our previous vocabulary so you can retain it, the key takeaway was the importance of staff retention. Maybe the key takeaway of the conference was on how to improve your business performance. And one of the most important points was staff retention, keeping people, employees, staff in your business. Now, you always have to ask yourself, how is the word being used and what are the grammatical rules? Because here, if you were to replace staff with employee, you would not add an S because they function as adjectives. They describe what type of retention. Staff retention, employee retention. But if you were to use them as nouns, so I'll put this in parentheses, nouns, retain is your verb, keep is your verb, you conjugate that, but then staff is always a collective noun, but employees is a regular noun. So it takes a singular plural form. So you would talk about keeping or retaining employees because there's more than one, but staff is a collective, so no S. Our next takeaway, new data released by Babbel in 2024. So now here they're going to explain what Babbel is because it's not common knowledge. I didn't know what Babbel was before this article. So Babbel, it's a survey of 500 business leaders in the UK. Now, because this information is between these dashes, you can delete what I have highlighted, and the sentence must be grammatically correct. So often if you want to include this additional information either between dashes or between commas, write it first without and then add it in just to make sure your sentence is grammatically correct without it. So new data released by Babbel in 2024 showed that 76% of business leaders wanted to strengthen their own physical, mental, and ethical fitness in order to succeed. Instead of using strengthen, you could use improve, to boost, because strengthen is the verb form, to strengthen. Their own physical, mental, and ethical fitness. Ethical fitness would be their ability to act ethically or make ethical decisions, either one of those. And why are they doing this? In order to succeed. Now, native speakers commonly delete the two words in order, so you just see to succeed, and you might think that this is simply the infinitive. However, depending on the sentence structure, you have to understand that it isn't the infinitive, it's in order to. And I say that because it's very common to begin a sentence with to succeed, to do something. But this isn't the infinitive because that's not grammatical in English. We don't start sentences with the infinitive. So this means in order to succeed, but it's very common to just use the to succeed and leave out in order. This is done in both spoken and written English in a casual and professional context. To succeed, leaders need to boost their ethical fitness. So remember, this means the ability to act ethically. Again, you need to think about how this word is being used. In this case, it's an adverb because it modifies the verb act. To act ethically. In this case, ethical is an adjective and it describes what type of fitness? Ethical fitness. Let's move on to our next key point, an overexhausted. Okay, so now you understand what overexhausted, because we're adding over. In this case, exhausted is an adjective. Exhausted. I'm exhausted. And we know this is going to be an, so we need a noun. An overexhausted leader. So it would be a leader, but because this is a vowel sound, you have to change your article to an instead of a. A leader, an overexhausted leader. So of course, exhausted already means extremely tired. So adding over really strengthens that. It emphasizes that. Sleep deprived. Deprived means not enough sleep, but this is prolonged. For example, you would say, I didn't sleep well last night, or I had a terrible sleep last night. You can replace this with, I had an amazing sleep last night, or I slept amazingly last night. So you can turn these positive. Now, if this takes place for weeks, I didn't sleep well last night, and you say this every night for weeks, then you could describe yourself as sleep deprived. I'm sleep deprived. I'm so sleep deprived. I need to solve this problem. An overexhausted, sleep-deprived leader is also more likely to be a less effective negotiator. So in this case, a negotiator, this is a person who negotiates. The verb is to negotiate. Less capable of, remember we talked about capable as a replacement to equipped. And when you use equipped or ready, able, you need the infinitive. Capable of. Now, capable of something. Empathy is a something. It's a noun. You could also use the gerund verb. Capable of expressing empathy. That could be a verb that goes with the noun empathy. Less capable of empathy and understanding different points, viewpoints, and is not able to drive innovation and change within the company. Notice here, so also able, that was a replacement to capable or equipped, is not equipped, is not able to drive. To drive innovation means to cause it to happen. To drive change means to cause it to happen. So to drive something is very much a business verb. Synonyms are inspire, encourage, or facilitate, which is very much a professional or academic verb, to facilitate innovation, to cause it to happen. Our next point, a company culture that focuses on overall health and wellness will eventually increase staff retention. So increase their ability to keep staff. Because remember, staff retention is the concept, the noun form of the verb to keep, to retain staff. So to increase staff retention, which ultimately contributes to the longevity of the business. Let's talk about a company culture. So this represents the values, beliefs, and practices that shape how employees interact and work within an organization. It's the same concept of a culture within a community or a family, but in this case, it's within the company. And often it's management that really shapes the company culture. So you could say Apple as a company has, we use the verb have for possession, and then a company culture, and then you would use an adjective. On the negative side, people use the adjective toxic. Oh, toxic company culture to refer to one that is very bad, toxic. So it's about the worst you could have. And then for positive adjective, you could simply use amazing or any other positive adjective that you know. So I'm not sure if this is what the culture is at Apple because I don't work there, but we have either the negative or the positive. Hopefully you would describe the positive for your company culture, how people interact, how they work, how they behave, their values, their beliefs. All of that would be the company culture. Now let's move on to our final takeaway, our last main point. Health truly is wealth. Have you heard this before? This isn't new to this article, the concept of saying health is wealth. Health is wealth. This is a very common phrase in English. Health is wealth. It means that you should prioritize. You should make health a priority because it is the most important thing. It is wealth. Health truly is wealth, especially if you want to be a good business leader. Let's end this article with a positive statement using some of the vocabulary we learned to retain that vocabulary. Health is key. We learned what that means. Health is wealth. We know this is a common saying or proverb. I will prioritize. We learned the verb to prioritize. Here it's in the future simple. I will prioritize because we use the future simple for commitments. I will prioritize my health. I am committed. Or I will make my health a priority because we learned to make something a priority. So choose your favorite one from these and write it in the comments so you retain this vocabulary as well. And now I'll read the article from start to finish so you can focus on my pronunciation because there were some advanced words in this article. Let's do that now. Why personal health and wellness are key to business longevity. Key takeaways. Business leaders who prioritize their personal health and wellness are better equipped to handle the responsibilities and inspire their management teams and employees. Overexertion, whether it's physical or mental, can lead to burnout that will negatively impact your leadership effectiveness and the organization's overall performance. Leaders who model good health and wellness practices contribute to a healthier work environment, boosting staff retention and company resilience. New data released by Babbel in 2024, a survey of 500 business leaders in the UK, showed that 76% of business leaders wanted to strengthen their own physical, mental, and ethical fitness in order to succeed. An overexhausted, sleep-deprived leader is also more likely to be a less effective negotiator, less capable of empathy and understanding different viewpoints, and is not able to drive innovation and change within the company. A company culture that focuses on overall health and wellness will eventually increase staff retention, which ultimately contributes to the longevity of the business. Health truly is wealth, especially if you want to be a good business leader.
Do you want me to make another lesson just like this? If you do, put yes in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And you can keep expanding your vocabulary with this lesson right now.